Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, as it is Wednesday. It's the middle of the week, and now you're in the better part of the week as we get closer to the weekend, but we're going to have a lot of things to discuss today. Talk a little bit about what Sam Pittman had to say on his SEC teleconference. Also, reverting back to a question, or at least an answer that he gave on Monday's press conference that I think is interesting to talk about as part of our Alumni Hall poll question of the day. But we'll get into that. We'll get into our heavy hitters presented by HD Roofing and Construction. Of course, get into all your chats, all your questions, and all of that fun stuff. But Andrew, it's Wednesday. How are the vibes here today?
The vibes are good. And, Wednesday, we're getting closer and closer to the weekend, which is where actual football is played, which is always good. I love when we can actually talk about, things that are going to happen in real life. In Mondays, we live in fantasy land, and you have Pittman making comments, the athletic director making comments. We have to live in the bizarro world. The closer we get to the weekend, John, the closer we get back to just normal everyday life. The Pigs play on Saturday. They'll win, and then everyone will feel happy, and we'll all just be kumbaya together. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, which I know we'll talk about it more as we get closer to the game, and we'll have our Bet SARACEN pregame show happening on a Saturday morning and everything. But man, they better win. That's all I'm saying. They better win that game. They better win that game, or else it's going to get really nasty for the rest of the way. But still, but let's be positive. Let's be optimistic. Be hopeful that it's all going to be okay and it's all going to work out. But I know we'll talk about some of stuff that I know Sam Pittman had to say in his press conference. And there was a clip that I was going to play from Monday's press conference, but it actually ended up being over 2 minutes, so I'm not going to play it. But I just wanted to simply kind of get into and get your thoughts, Ellis, that, again, the 100-year check stuff took everything by storm, so we still have some stuff to talk about. But Sam Pittman felt and said so that this year's team is one of the better teams that he's ever had. Now, he didn't say it's the best team, but I've always felt like if you say that, you're kind of basically saying, hey, this is the best team I've ever had. Or you're making that statement. He's doing it maybe to not insult previous teams or previous players or anything like that. And it just made me start thinking about it, because let's be honest, the only other team that maybe you could make an argument for would be his 2021 team. I mean, at least at this point in time. And I know you're 3 games in. But when you heard that statement and seeing what Arkansas has and what it looks like in just the small sample size that we do you agree with Sam Pittman? Do you believe that this year's team is his best team? Do you think it's better than that 2021 team?
I don't. I think that, how would they, if those two teams played, maybe this year's team would win. I think they maybe have a little bit higher ceiling offensively. And I think, just that things are operating at a pretty high level. And KJ had that thing bumping pretty well. That was a good offense. I think they led the SEC in rushing or something that year. And you also had Taylen Burks. I feel like those factors gave that year's team a higher floor. And I think they were a little bit better defensively. It wasn't like a lights out defense, but it was a solid, competent defense that I don't think Arkansas necessarily has this year. So for all those reasons, I favor that 2021 team a little bit more. I just feel like their floor game to game was a little bit higher, but I could definitely see an argument, John, for this year's team having a higher ceiling. Like maybe they could beat someone really good, where that 2021 team was pretty much, beat all the bad teams they were supposed to beat except for Auburn, but couldn't quite beat those elite teams. I think this year's team might have a higher ceiling, but a lower floor.
So I would agree. And I guess the way that I looked at it, or at least the way I try to justify it in my mind, was about, okay, well, if you look at position group by position group, and then you go through it all, because, Taylen Burks is as I put it, like a generational type of talent. I'm not saying he's the greatest Razorback of all time, but there's no doubt that if you're a guy, and I don't mean this as an insult towards him, but if you're a guy who does not have to be in the gym and on doing drills all the time, but yet you can just walk out on the field and be better than everybody else, like that's a generational talent, in my opinion. Matt Jones was that way. Darren McFadden was that way. I think Taylen Burks was that way. I feel like that element always kind of sets things apart a little bit. But offensively, I think is where the closest comparisons go. But isn't it weird that even though I really liked, and at least statistically speaking, that 2021 defense was really good, isn't it kind of weird when you think back? You're like, well, the defensive line, okay, well, I mean, they had like 3 guys. They had John Ridgway, and they had to run a 3-4 defense, so they had no defensive line depth. And you think about the linebackers, where you're like, yeah, I mean, Grant Morgan, Hayden Henry, Bumper Pool, but solid guys, but like Xavier Sorey, Steven Diggs, like, aren't those guys a little bit better? And even in the secondary, you didn't have Jalen Catalon because he was out for that year, but you had Joe Fouché, you had Greg Brooks, you had some pieces there, and maybe it's tough timing for the secondary to really say, hey, if they're better this year because of coming off that performance. But I don't know. That's what I first thought about, was just, looking at the defensive side, because the offense, I think there is some comparisons, but the defensive side, it looks like it was better then. But then at the same time, when you look at the position groups, are you taking that group of defense on 2021 compared to this one? I don't know. There may be a case could be made there too.
So, okay, what that 2021 team had really on both sides of the ball was just a very firm identity. They were going to run the ball, and they ran the ball, and then they would run some play action off of it, and then they would target Taylen Burks downfield. That was the offense. Like, there was not really any nuance to it. They just knew exactly what they wanted to do, what they could do, and they went out and did it. Defensively, it was kind of the same thing. You mentioned the 3-man front. They would kind of keep everything in front and let those linebackers just kind of make all the tackles and kind of funnel everything. Teams could move the ball on them, but it was a bend but don't break. There were some teams that we saw expose that. I think that Ole Miss game, I think they lose 52-50 or whatever, or 51-50 or whatever. Like, there were the really good offenses. I think Bryce Young in Alabama had a very good game against them. The really good quarterbacks and really good offenses could beat them, obviously. It was not a super talented defense, but they had a very clear identity that allowed them in a lot of those matchups against LSU, against A&M, to play above their talent. And I don't know if this defense, that talent-wise, you're right. It's not like a huge gap. I think there's some talent on this team. There were a couple talents here and there, but like, it's not a huge gap. But I don't see the same identity with this defense and frankly, offensively, I'm not saying this offense doesn't have an identity. I think they have a much higher ceiling, and as of right now are really humming on all cylinders. I wonder if they are going to have that firm identity to lean back on, if they're going to be able to really run the ball the way that 2021 team did. And they definitely don't have a receiver like a Taylen Burks that's just going to sometimes just dominate games like he could.
Yeah, and I think that's where the balance comes in, because looking at offense, obviously Taylen Burks is the ultimate player that everybody would love to have. I mean, Bobby Petrino would love to have a Taylen Burks on this team. But then you think of the entire group of wide receivers. It's like, well, is this group overall better than what it was the year that Taylen Burks was there in 2021? Again, you have to take that into consideration, but is the group better? The tight end position, it's like, well, I mean, not saying the tight ends are elite right now, but that was back when they had Blake Kern and no one else at tight end. Like, no one else really played. And then, the running back situation, I think there's definitely an argument, but offensive line, I mean, offensive line pass protection wise is pretty good right now compared to that. But it's also about Taylen Green. And I think that's where some people are maybe coming in, but comparative to KJ Jefferson, is Taylen Green better than KJ Jefferson? It's very hard to say because of the records that KJ has. And obviously you've only seen Taylen Green start for, a little less than 2 seasons, less than a season and a half. But Bobby Petrino and not Kendall Briles. I mean, there's just so many things and factors that could go into it. And that's why I find it fascinating is if it's true, and if Sam Pittman saying what it is true, is that it's the best team that they've had, then, it kind of makes you think, okay, should the expectation be elevated? Because that was a team that won 9 games that year.
No, that's a good point. You make a great point on the expectation, because that's like, if you're going to sell us that this is one of your better teams, or this team might be as good as the 2021 team, well, you're going to have the wins to prove it. If this team winds up going 6-6, it doesn't matter how many close games they had or how high their ceiling was on a given day. We're not going to view this as a really good team, and so it's up to them to go out there and do it. To answer your question, though, Taylen Green is absolutely playing at a higher level right now than KJ Jefferson ever played at. And I love KJ. I've defended KJ as much as anyone. I loved covering him. I loved watching him. And KJ it comes back to the high floor, low ceiling thing. KJ had a pretty high floor game to game. The worst case scenario was he was going to run for 50, 60 yards. He was going to take care of the football. He wasn't going to turn it over, and he just wasn't going to be making these explosive plays. But he had a pretty consistent, if you look at his game log from that 2021 season, it really wasn't too much like boom or bust. It was just like every game he'd have his 200 passing yards, 50, 60 rushing yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns. He wouldn't turn the ball over. Taylen has some games in SEC play throughout his career that are just stinkers, like, 13 for 31 type of stinkers where he doesn't do anything, but he's also has a capability to completely take over and dominate a game. And KJ, as great as he was, really didn't have that. I know he had some awesome games against Ole Miss or whatever. There weren't many times where KJ just dominated a game by himself. It was usually taking care of the football, converting some short third and shorts, having some rushing touchdowns. Taylen is the type of guy that could really have 550 yards by himself.
Yeah, he could take over a game, as you said, and that's where a lot of the belief comes in. But it's also about the fit. And Kendall Briles and KJ Jefferson, which I was a big Kendall Briles fan, and I like KJ Jefferson too. I like the combo of them. But there's just something to be said about the perfect matching of a Bobby Petrino with a Taylen Green. And we talked about the game against Ole Miss. Taylen wasn't perfect. I mean, we know that. But I think coupled with the play calling in some of those cases, maybe we talked about it, but that I think it was a 3rd and 9 QB draw play late in the game where I was just sitting there in the press box floored, but I'm like, dude, that was a ballsy call. You're running the ball up the middle with your quarterback on 3rd and 9 when you got to get it. And it just parted the Red Sea. So I think just the combination of the trust that's there, the combination of who they believe each other are and how they have confidence, where Taylen can do some improvising as we've seen, but I also don't feel like Taylen is looking to first improvise every single time. I don't see him. Hopefully I didn't jinx it, but hopefully I don't see him like taking a snap. And then if his one wide receiver that he's staring at isn't open, then he's just going to take off running. He's doing some check downs. He's doing some things to the running backs. And that's the Petrino offense. And that's what makes him so dynamic right now compared to maybe a year ago is you can tell he feels a lot more comfortable than what he did.
The best quarterbacks are they are able to make plays in the chaos, and Taylen, we've seen him do plenty of that, of kind of making things happen when things unravel. But I think the best quarterbacks are also good risk takers, but know when to take those risks. And I think that's the difference you see between Taylen in year 2 versus Taylen in year 1. Because we talked a lot about, in the offseason of how much our Arkansas is this Arkansas coaching staff going to depend on Taylen Green and his legs. And we've seen them certainly have some design runs. You touched on the 3rd and 9 that they converted with a design run. One thing I've noticed Taylen doing is he will have those plays where he'll step back and very quickly make a decision, but it's usually a case of he knows exactly what's happening. He knows where his receivers are going to be. He knows what the defense is doing, and so he kind of knows I have an avenue here to make a play. And like Bobby said the other day, or I think maybe it was Sam, he likes to put pressure on the defense. He likes to challenge teams that way, and he knows, hey, if they're in this coverage, we're running this route concept, there's nobody over here. It's going to be one-on-one, me and a safety right here. I can run here. I think you're just seeing a little bit better understanding from Taylen of sort of when to do some of this. And so whereas before he maybe have just taken the snap and he's kind of deciding in the moment, oh, crap, should I make a play downfield? What should I do? Now you're starting to see the next evolution of Taylen where he's putting pressure on defenses because he knows exactly when he can take certain risks. And by the way, he hasn't taken as many of those bad shots as you see, as much as he's had success running the football. If I had told you that Taylen was going to run the ball for 300 yards in the first 3 games, you would have probably said, oh, he's going to be beat up. He's gotten beat up because he's playing in the SEC. He hasn't taken a ton of really bad in the middle of the field guys ganging up on you type of hits, which I think is a testament to his kind of growth as a player and decision maker.
Yeah, and I know that it's not everybody that feels this way, but I did get a tweet because I talked about on my Locked On this morning. I got a tweet from somebody to be like, if we have to rely on, or I think it was should go back, but it's basically saying that if Taylen Green is throwing for 300 yards and 100 and rushing for 100 yards a game, then I don't like our chances. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I could not feel more opposite about that. Like if you told me that the only thing that you could tell me guaranteed for the rest of the season in every single game, that Taylen Green was going to throw for over 300 yards every game and rush for over 100 yards every game, I'm looking at it and saying Arkansas is probably going to go 9-3, 10-2. Like that's what would be the case. Now, should you rely on that and say the only way we win is if he does that? No, probably not. But if you told me he did, I'm going to like Arkansas's chances in pretty much every single game.
Yeah, I think that is just a gross miscalculation there on the part of the guy that's like, yeah, that would be bad. And I can understand an argument for like, hey, you don't want to be that dependent. But here's the problem with that. This team was constructed to be dependent on Taylen Green. Like And I know they didn't go into the offseason saying, hey, let's put as much on his plate as possible. But when you think about the best version of this Razorback team and kind of what the vision for this offense is, it requires Taylen Green to do a lot. Like that is, and that's not a secret. That's not a discussion at all. This offense, like the best version of Arkansas, is going to have to require Taylen Green to be that dude. Does he have to have 300 and 100 every game? Maybe not. I mean, nobody in school history had ever done it before. So I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy to be like, nah, that'd be bad. But no, I think that conceptually speaking, Arkansas is going to need Taylen to be very good. I don't really think there's a path to Arkansas having a good season that doesn't include him putting up some crazy numbers, which, to be fair, he looks very capable of doing.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And that's part of our Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by our friends at Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. We're going to be there next Friday before the Notre Dame game, live from 12 to 2. Go ahead and get your shopping on. If you're going to be heading over to Memphis, if you're in Northwest Arkansas area, drive by their location at 3417 North College Avenue, or you can have it delivered straight to your door and getting ready for the Notre Dame game by going to insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. That's insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. Use that promo code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your purchase. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience for all Razorback apparel with our friends over at Alumni Hall. It was simply asking the question that we've been discussing. Do you believe that this is Sam Pittman's best Razorback team he's had since he's become head coach? Now, I had to say head coach because somebody would be like, well, that 2015 team was better, but he wasn't the head coach. So I had to make sure to clarify that. But either way, Ellis, 58% say no, this is not the greatest team that he had, but 42% say yes. And I find that fascinating. I know we've already discussed it, but I found it fascinating because we're talking about 3 games in, and there's 42% that say that this is a team that's better than that 2021 team after just 3 games and sitting at 2-1. I know that things could change, and if we ask this question a month from now, it'd probably be very different. But I was just a little bit surprised to see that so many people voted in favor of saying yes just after 3 games compared to a full season we had in 2021.
Yeah, mark me in the category of no, this is not the best team. And I'm not even really going to disagree too firmly. I'm not going to call you an idiot if you say the 2020 this is better than the 21 team. My question would be, one, did you forget that 2021 team went 9-4? Because I think there's probably some people that voted yes that fit that criteria. 2, do you just think that 2021 team kind of got lucky, won some games, took advantage of LSU being down, A&M being down? Were they not as good as that 9-4 record? My other question would be, do you feel like Arkansas is going to have because I'm just fascinated by that. If you think this is the best team that Sam Pittman's had at Arkansas, is that going to yield the best results he's had at Arkansas? Is this team, should the expectations be set, which is the point you made earlier? If you're saying yes, does that mean this team kind of needs to go 8-4, 9-4 for us to consider this a good season? Because if that's the case, I will operate that way. I just don't think you're going to like it if we do operate that way.
Yeah. Because that's where I'm at too. Where I'm leaving myself up to where it absolutely could be a better team. I mean, if this team, I'm not saying they will, but saying if they just did something crazy like go 10-2, then yes, obviously it's a better team. But right now where I stand, I just cannot, with confidence, 100% confidence, say that this team is for sure better than that team. There's potential there, but we've yet to see this team win a signature win. Now, if they beat Memphis and Notre Dame over the next 2 weeks, okay, I think that there's absolutely a conversation to be had. But until they have that signature win or have that performance that gets them the win and they look good doing it, it's just hard for me to have that confidence about it right now. It could end up changing, though. It could end up changing. But we'll get to some other things. We'll get to your chats in a bit, but also about the SEC teleconference. But want to remind everybody that here on Inside Arkansas, we're presented by our friends over at Goat Lab Red, which right now, if you're at Goat Lab Red in Fayetteville at 1214 Garland Avenue, you are watching us because every single day they have Inside Arkansas Live playing at their location. And it's a great place to get lunch. Some of the best brews and burgers around, whether it's a signature burger, they have appetizers to check out as well. It's a great lunch spot right there next to the old Mr. Burger, as Dudley would say, so the official sponsor of our Inside Arkansas recruiting podcast. But head over there and you can check it out. It's a great place not only to eat lunch, but to eat dinner. And they have a trivia night on a lot of occasions. I know at Goat Lab Brewery itself, they had a Ted Lasso trivia night over there at Goat Lab Brewery and Lowell. So they're always doing fun stuff and having great events. So be sure to check it out. It's also a great place to do pregame, during the game, post-game, whether it's home, whether it's road games for Arkansas Razorback football. it's the place to be. So go and check it out today. Again, at 1214 North Garland Avenue in Fayetteville. It's Goat Lab Red, your new game day tradition. Okay, Ellis, I know I think people were fascinated to hear Sam Pittman's reaction to some things that were said. And we didn't, of course, on Monday have a chance to hear what he had to say about Hunter Yurachek's comments because they hadn't happened yet. But today, the SEC teleconference took place just like every Wednesday. You had a chance to listen to a little bit of it. So anything about Sam Pittman, whether it's reactions or updates or anything that came from that SEC teleconference?
Not really. And I didn't finish listening to it. I listened far enough to hear him get asked about the Hunter Yurachek thing, and he dismissed it entirely. And basically it was like, well, Hunter was referring to the revenue sharing, and, that's going to change here in the near future. He was like, it won't affect this year, but that's what Hunter was talking about. So he is saying that Hunter said that Arkansas is not set up to win a national championship because revenue sharing hasn't gone into effect yet. That is what Sam Pittman is claiming. That's his interpretation of it. I'm not here to tell him he's wrong. That is the public stance of the athletic director and head coach as of right now. The athletic director is like, we ain't winning the championship. The head coach is saying, well, he's only saying that because of the revenue sharing, which is about to change. So once again, the can has been kicked down the road, John. We will review in 6 months. We will come back in 6 months, and then Arkansas will be set up to win a national championship, and we'll hear the plan then.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't had a chance to hear it all in its context. I know we were talking about it beforehand. It's just one of those deals to where I get it in how you gotta, it's a very complicated thing going on right now in the world of college athletics with everything. I couldn't imagine having to work within those realms of ever changing things, where if it's rev share or if it's NIL or anything like that. But it just, to me, I don't know. We've been hearing about the rev share thing for a year now, it seems like, and how it's kind of the saving grace and how it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And rev share is technically taking place, but it's also like, I just don't know. I keep thinking that it's just being put off as like, oh, well, it's something down the road. It's something that'll change things. It's going to even the playing field, but it's only going to happen when everybody in the legal system puts it into place, and then that'll be the case. But I just don't see any sort of reason to believe that it's going to be that way. Like it'd be one thing if we kept getting closer and then it passed through the Senate and then it passed through the House, and we were getting closer and it's what it was going to be. That'd be one thing, but it's like, there's just nothing I have seen in college athletics to make me believe that revenue share, one, is going to be all in, happening 100%. And two, as if even if it does, it'll happen here soon, and it's going to completely change the entire setup of college athletics to where Arkansas is going to be set up for success in that system, but not in the current system. There's just nothing that I see that makes me feel that way right now.
So, John, every single person in my life has an opinion on college football. And there's a lot of people that I have in my life who, like you, like Curtis, like a lot of people who have covered college football professionally for a long time. Some people have coached and played. There are a lot of people I have access to talk to about college football and college sports in general. Sam Pittman is the only one. And Hunter Yurachek maybe, but I don't even think Hunter Yurachek has really made this argument. Sam Pittman is the only single one, other than maybe a random commenter here and there, who really truly believes that revenue sharing is this thing that is going to level the playing field to where teams will no longer have an advantage of over the other. And so I'm not saying Sam Pittman's for sure wrong. I'm just saying he is the single one and only. There is no other example, and that includes hundreds and hundreds of people. We all look at this and say, yeah, revenue sharing, will it change something? Sure, but is it going to actually change your standing of where you are in the SEC? No. And if you're depending on it to do that, you really don't have a plan. John, I learned a lot I was in college when the Chad Morris era happened. And I remember watching those press conferences and just being baffled by it and kind of listening to him ramble, and then seeing him at the Western Kentucky press conference selling this vision of, guys, it's not going to be an overnight fix, and we're going to turn this thing around. And we knew it was going to take some time. And he was even he knew he was fired. We knew he was fired. He's sitting there selling us on this vision of this great future where things are no longer going to suck. I think anytime you start doing that it's really tough, and it reeks of desperation. And I'm not saying that Sam is desperate. I think he was in a bad spot this morning being asked about it because his athletic director went out and said crazy stuff, and he had to comment on it. It's just never a good sign. And do you remember week 1 when Sam Pittman had a press conference and we came and we were impressed? We were like, man, he seems locked in. He's not worried about all this outside stuff. He's just worried about his football team and trying to win the game. That's the right mindset. I'm not saying Sam Pittman's no longer in that mindset, but the fact that we are already in week 4 having all these big picture conversations and already planting these seeds of, well, I know this team sucks right now, but next year, that is as big of a red flag as you can have coming out of your program following your first loss of the season. That checks all the boxes of a team that is ready to be distracted and be divided and be ripped apart.
Yeah, and again, I know we spent a lot of time on it yesterday with the Yurchek comments and everything, but I also look at it where fans are wanting something to hope in, and I think that coaches kind of look at some way of like, okay, well, this is how it's going to be. Okay, this is how it's going to get better, and they have to have something. They have to have something that they can realistically believe in or thinking that why it's going to be okay, why they're the man for the job, why it's going to be a championship caliber, whatever. And I just don't know if this is what you want. Like, is that Sam Pittman's belief is like, hey, it's going to be okay. Here's why. It's because of revenue share. And I'm just going to keep handling that. And I'm going to keep harping on that because it's going to make a difference. And, I still believe that's probably more so being told to him by the administration. I don't think that he's just making it up. I don't think that he's lying in it at all. But I think that it's probably just a message that's been passed down. And I'm with you. I just don't know of any other places that bring it up as much and thinking that this is what's going to be the difference maker, especially given the current landscape to where nothing seems to be illegal right now. Like nothing seems to be a problem. And even if you do get caught with it, it doesn't matter. You just keep going and you act like nothing happens, or you hire a lawyer and you say, hey, we're filing a lawsuit. No, who are you to say that I can't play 10 years in college football? Like, there's just all this stuff to where it all doesn't mean anything. And it's simply like you're just sitting back and you're saying, well, once it's settled down and once it becomes the way it should be, the way we believe it will be, then all is going to be fine. That is noble and that is great. But there is nothing that is making me think that here in the foreseeable future, in the near future, that it's going to get to that point. And so, it's almost like you're waiting on something that you have no clue if it's going to be that way. You have no idea if it's going to happen that way.
Well, and John, it's fascinating because with these coaches and athletes, it's not a foreign concept for them to come to us and tell us that they're going to do something that they probably aren't going to do, but all the time it's noble. Like you say, if you don't think you're going to win a national championship, lie to me. Tell me, hey, our goal is to win the national championship, and we're going to do it because we have this great quarterback, this great offense, we've filled in gaps in the defense, and blah, blah, blah. All it has to do is be believable. And a lot of times we believe it. As fans, as observers, we say, you know what? They got Taylen Green. They can win. Okay, if you're going to do something, you have to be able to tell me how you're going to do it. And how you're going to do it really doesn't have to be that complex or even truthful. We just have to be able to sell ourselves. But it's like, John, if I told you, I said, hey, man, I'm going to give you $1,000 by the end of the week. I'm gonna go out. I'm going to do some things. I'm going to get $1,000. I'm going to bring it to you. You can say, cool, I'm getting my $1,000. Well, how are you going to do it? And I say, well, I'm going to be a SoundCloud rapper. I'm going to start my SoundCloud rapping career. And by the end of the week, I'll have $1,000. Then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. If that's your plan, I no longer think you're going to do this. I'm starting to think I won't get that $1,000. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, listen, if you're telling me we're going to even the gap and we're going to find a way to circumnavigate the advantage that other teams have on us, cool. Wait, so how are you going to do it? Oh, because revenue sharing is going to help me. See, now I know you're full of shit. And it's like, now I know you're not going to do it.
Yeah. It's a matter of just, again, I get the theory. I get waiting in the wings to see when it all takes place, but it's just ever changing, and you don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, a year from now, we could be doing this show and everything is so different. The entire setup of college athletics is completely different. We don't know. I don't think anybody knows, but that's what makes it so tough of like, okay, well, do you just hang back in the wings and hope and pray that it comes to fruition and it goes the way you're supposed to? Or do you adjust with the changing times and just roll with it and roll within the rules or within the current setup, the current format? That's ultimately the question. But either way, I look forward to seeing when that rev share kicks in, and hopefully it ends up happening for Arkansas. Hopefully it really ends up being great. But either way, again, we'll get to your chats and everything. I want to remind everybody, though, that here on Inside Arkansas Live, Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas is one of our great sponsors here. And we know that Halloween, it's getting closer and closer. And a lot of you are going to be looking to get some lights for Halloween. Well, here's a great thing is next week, we're going to be doing a giveaway for a free Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, a lighting setup for Halloween. And we're going to give you some details on that. Of course, you have to be in the Northwest Arkansas or in the River Valley area, but they are the best in the business. They're professionals that are going to install your lights, and not only for Halloween, but for Christmas. And if you decide to go with Halloween lights, best deal ever is that they will give you the Christmas lights for 50% off. So you get to have both. Your house is going to be lit up for the final 4 months of the year. What could be better than that with Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas? They do all the materials, all the colors, all the patterns. They install it themselves, and they provide that free maintenance. So give our guy Brett a text today at 479-459-1380. That's 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com, or you can like them on Facebook by scanning that QR code on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Okay, Andrew, I know we'll have chats in a second, but I did want to bring this up too as we kind of turn the page a little bit. Looking at Memphis and this game, because there is a game that will be taking place this weekend at the Liberty Bowl there. And I think according to SARACEN, it's kind of moved a little bit. It's been 6.5, 7.5, kind of in that realm for Arkansas being the favorites in this one. I know that it's a different type of team that you're going to be playing. The expectation is to win this game. But given the spread, let's just look at from given the spread, do you feel like this game is going to be a one possession game? Like, is it going to come down to that? Or do you feel like Arkansas could wreck this one? Because I don't think any of us picked Arkansas to lose to Memphis. I could be wrong. And I don't think we're going to pick them this week. I don't want to speak for everybody. But do you feel like this game, this matchup, given the circumstances, given the talent level and all of that, that this is a one possession type of game that could go either way?
So I don't think Arkansas is going to blow Memphis out. I really don't see this being like 49-17. Like, I don't think Arkansas like lays the smackdown here, but I do think Arkansas controls this game and comfortably wins. But I do think it's going to be uglier. Like, I think this will be the worst performance Arkansas's offense has had all year. Not to say I think they're going to be bad. I think they're going to score probably like 35, 38 points. But I think there's going to be like a time early in the game where it's 13-10 with a few minutes left going into the second quarter, and we're like kind of looking around like we're nervous. But I do think Arkansas will win this game probably by double digits. I think the spread is honestly it's a respect to Memphis's success. I mean, they're 3-0, but also just the way they play. They really like to control the clock. They play great defense. I mean, their defense has put up really good numbers. I think the spread being as low as it is Vegas giving Memphis some respect that I feel like Memphis has somewhat earned.
Yeah, see, I look at it that way too, where it's not necessarily that Arkansas is bad or Memphis is better or vice versa, and anything. I think it's just a matter of the respect to the opponents. Because right now I'm looking at Saracen, it's right at 7 points right now. So we've seen it get as low as 6.5, at 7.5, but it's right now at 7 where Arkansas is favored by a touchdown. And like you said, I mean, this is a team, this is a program that's had success and has recently had success and has good coaching. I know that this is going to be without question their biggest opponent that they've played when they take on Arkansas. But I don't want to speak for them, but I'm also thinking that this has to be the biggest game on their schedule, right? Like, this is the one that they are circling, being an SEC team in their home stadium. Like this, and I don't want to use the whole there. It's a Super Bowl, but this is their biggest game of the season. Has to be, right?
100%, and that's what makes this a dangerous matchup. And of course, they're confident. They're 3-0. They've played 3 lesser teams, but they've done what they've been supposed to do in these first 3 games. They're coming off of, by the way, a really impressive performance. I see Law Dog here, by the way. I know we'll get to the chat later, but he says Troy held them to 28. Our defense.
He says our defense is bad, but not worse than Troy. Yeah, that's true. As we get a little frozen action there. But it is true, though. It's like, I don't think that they're that bad. I don't think that they're that level of bad. But there is some issues to where they need to be better, obviously defensively. But I also don't think you're going to be going up against an Ole Miss offense to where you're going to look like you're completely lost every step of the way.
I'm with you. And sorry, I cut out there for a second. But I don't think Memphis has this super explosive offense that is going to really test the Arkansas defense the same way they were tested. Will they have success? Yes, but in a different way. But I also, just to finish my point, I don't think anyone should point to the Troy game as a negative on Memphis. Troy almost beat Clemson, and then they played Memphis, and I think Memphis actually scored more on Troy than Clemson did.
Yeah, and that's where, again, this isn't something either like Arkansas State where it's like, oh, this is their biggest game, so you got to watch out for them. Like, no, Memphis is a good team. Plus, this is their biggest game. Plus, it's at home. Like, this is a big deal to them. And I think there's going to be a ton of Razorback fans that make the trip because, from Central Arkansas, Memphis is 2 hours. So, I mean, you can make it. I know it's 11 a.m., which kind of sucks, but I think it's just a day trip for most people. So you're going to have a good turnout up there. And I mean, again, if it was to happen right now today, and I know we'll have our predictions as we get closer to it, I think Arkansas wins. And I'm going to be this way, Ellis. I think Arkansas is going to win big. And when I say big, I think by 3 possessions. And it's not anything of like, oh, I think Memphis sucks. And maybe I'm being hopeful, but I'm just hoping that after that disappointing loss that they suffered to Ole Miss, that they come out firing, because it's a tough thing to follow that up with an emotional loss like that, to go still on the road to the Liberty Bowl in Memphis at 11 a.m. with Notre Dame coming to town the next day or the next week, for you to be fired up and banging on all cylinders. It's not an excuse, but I'm just saying I'm going to be very curious to see how Arkansas comes out emotionally. Are they hyped? Are they still confident? Or are they going to come out flat and gross and disgusting and getting penalties and making mistakes? Because, man, if that happens, Memphis is good enough to beat you. Like, if you're going to come out that way, Memphis is absolutely good enough to beat you. And you talk about putting down a damper like no damper's ever been seen in a season. That's going to be brutal and killer for the rest of the year.
Yeah, this is a game Arkansas cannot lose. Like, make no mistake about that. And I've seen a bunch of people in the chat this week being like, "Hey, if Arkansas loses, like, would that be like a big deal?" It's like, yeah, that would be a big deal. That would be it, and that would be over if that happens. I think 2 things are true, and you touched on it there at the end, John. Memphis is, in my opinion, good enough to beat a team like Arkansas if Arkansas doesn't show up and play the game the way they.
Yes. I agree with you. I think that Arkansas has to play so they can't play the way defensively that they did against Ole Miss and expect to win. However, I believe that if Arkansas plays the same that they did against Ole Miss, they will win this game, because I think that Memphis is not as good as Ole Miss. Now, defensively, again, you got to step it up. But you'll take the win no matter how it happens. But I'm telling you right now, Ellis, if Arkansas wins this game and they have to win in a shootout because the defense looks like crap, like they did a week ago against Ole Miss, again, you'll take the win. You'll be happy about it. But it's just like, dude, this defense just may be terrible, just may not be good. That's a bad deal.
Yeah, especially because that's not even really how Memphis plays. Like, they don't really have an up-tempo, high-flying offense. So if they do that, it's a huge red flag.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay, we'll get to your chat, folks. But doing so, we want to remind everybody that the vibe checking of the chat is presented by our friends at Basis Health, where they're changing the way that healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. It's Basis Health. They're here for you when and where you need them the most. You can learn more at basishealth.org today. Shout out to our guy, Dre, for being a part of our Inside Arkansas coverage each and every day here on Inside Arkansas. All right, so let's go ahead and get to some of your chats, folks. Appreciate it. Of course, super chats we got to get to first, as always. But shout out to Sharkansaw. He says, Sharks SEC power ratings no one asked for. Week 3, LSU 1, Georgia 2, Tennessee 3, OU 4, 5, Texas, 6, Bama, 7, A&M, 8, Ole Miss, 9, Auburn, 10, Missouri, 11, Arkansas, 12, Florida, 13, Vanderbilt, 14, Mississippi State, 15, South Carolina, 16, Kentucky. You take any issues with this, Ellis?
The only issue I take is Vandy being too low. But these are solid rankings, and this is a great bit from Sharkansaw. I like this. But
yeah.
Vandy's way too low.
Yeah. Well, how about this? We should just do this, Sharkansaw. Of course, every time you put a super chat in there, you'll just be the official Inside Arkansas power rankings. We don't do power rankings. You could just make your list the official Inside Arkansas power rankings because you put a super chat in there. So appreciate you. Also, super chat from Woo Damn Pig Smitty. Appreciate it. He says, Memphis is 4-0 at home at 11 on ABC. Okay, is that like all time? Is that like
sure
over the past few years? I mean, we'll see, but I How many times have they played, though, like a team like Arkansas at home at 11 a.m. on ABC? Maybe they have. I really don't know. But again, that's why I feel like it's very important that Arkansas comes out firing on all cylinders. And also, I do not want to hear a single person say, well, we may be overlooking Memphis for Notre Dame. Stop. Because Arkansas is not that team. They are not that team that can overlook anybody. There's no such thing, if you're Arkansas, of overlooking Memphis. Oh, because Notre Dame's on the schedule. Yes, it's a big game, but it's not like Arkansas is just far and away better than Memphis and it's a trap game. No, because Arkansas is not good enough to beat anybody right now, at least not proving it. So you can't overlook anybody. You got to prove your worth. And if you beat Memphis, especially if you beat them handedly, that game against Notre Dame is going to mean a lot more. It's going to be a lot bigger deal. It's going to be a big deal no matter what, but just take care of business against Memphis like you're supposed to, and then you can go on from there. Let's see. Also, Showtime says, I would love to hear about Memphis's offensive scheme or how we are going to fix the secondary.
I don't know if there's a fix in the secondary, which, by the way, I saw someone asking, they were like, why didn't the depth chart change? And I'm like, what are they going to change? You think putting Selman Bridges in there is going to help?
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think there's really a change other than if they just do the 3-2-6, keep everything in front, zone it up defense, which they probably will do. That's probably the biggest fix. In terms of Memphis' scheme, they're going to test Arkansas very differently. They're going to run the ball right up the middle, right at you, and they want to run the ball a lot. They are not going to try and stretch the field through the air. Their quarterback is very much a game manager who knows what he's doing. They try and take the game completely out of his hands. So it's a lot more simple in terms of what you have to do to stop them. But I think this is a big test for that D-line for Arkansas.
Well, and also to the defensive backs or the secondary point, I'm not trying to be, insulting or anything, but this is what Sam Pittman said. He's like, the communication was the biggest problem and coaching them on Saturday against Ole Miss. And I had to remind myself of this else, which I know we talked about. And I'm not trying to refer back to the game, but Arkansas only gave up in that the second half in total. What was it? 13 points, right? Is that what they gave up?
I think it was 10.
10 points. Yeah. Okay. You're right. 10 points. So, I mean, it's not that it's impossible. And maybe, just maybe, I'll give the benefit. Maybe could be something as simple as coaching. But if they go into this game and they get lit up again, then it's more than just the communication or the checkdowns. No, then it's a bigger problem than what we have. And hopefully there's no backup quarterback from Memphis that's going to come in and look like a Heisman Trophy winner. Let's just hope.
Well, and what's funny is, I think a lot of people have come to the conclusion of, hey, yeah, let's do the bend but don't break thing. Memphis is the wrong team to do that against, because that's kind of what they want to do, is crank out 7-8 minute drives. So I wonder if it's going to be a bad defensive performance, but in a different way, because Ole Miss really didn't run the ball that much on Arkansas. So if Arkansas starts allowing Memphis to run on them, you let a D2 quarterback throw on you. Now you start adding that up, it would be pretty tough. But this is an easier matchup for the Arkansas defense. I think we should all agree on that.
Yes. I definitely do agree on that. And also, I know it gets brought up, but it is really incredible just how any good running backs that Arkansas goes up against defensively, Travis Williams and them do a great job of taking them out of the game. They did that because that was the thing. I know that the whole thing was about Chambliss and his performance, rightfully so. But I remember talking to Stephen Willis of Locked on Ole Miss and some of these Ole Miss people. They're saying, hey, the running back, Darren McFadden type stuff. It's like, I mean, he wasn't even a factor. Then again, he didn't need to be, because you just had Chambliss making plays. So, if it comes down to, hey, they got a great running back that can beat you, or, they got a dual threat quarterback that can beat you, I will always feel better about going up against a really good running back, just given the circumstances, because quarterback play, it dices Arkansas up every single time. So hopefully that's not the case here. Let's see. Also, John Sullivan says, I can't be the only one hammering the line this week, and I think we boat race them, fellas. I hope they do. And you think about also just for the morale of all the fans, not to say that everyone will be back on board, national championship play, but golly, it would be nice to follow up that really tough loss, that frustrating loss, to just beat the crap out of a team the next week that's actually decent. Just really show again, and you're the better team. It's never in doubt. It would be nice. I don't want to see a one possession game. I'll take the win, but it just won't make me feel any better about the rest of the year.
You know how when you make a big change in life and all of a sudden you start thinking, you're like, man, this really has a big impact. I've worked out 3 days this week and I feel better than ever. You're telling yourself that whatever changes you made worked. I think that's what this week is about for Arkansas. Whatever changes you made, they need to work so that you can go into the Notre Dame game and say, well, now since we made that change, we're undefeated.
That's right. Yeah. Again, it's a mentality, man. It's just a mentality. Because I tell you, if Arkansas only gives up, say, like 28 points in this game, so a lot of fans are gonna be, hey, our defense improved. Nice. It's like, well, 28 points is still a lot, though, but especially how you give them up. My whole thing is, Ellis, about this game, the big plays, dude. Just stop. Just do not. If you give up methodical drives and mixing it up, it's not gonna make me happy. But it's just the complete breakdowns in coverage, or seeing your defensive backs just get destroyed downfield. Like, don't do the big plays. If they do a good job of nickel and diming down the field and running on you, I'm not going to like it, but there's nothing more frustrating than giving up big play after big play after big play after big play, because that will wear down a defense and kill a morale quicker than anything.
I'm with you, and I think that's got to be a huge point of emphasis. I think it's also why, given respect to Memphis's defense, I think the under continues to be the play here. Everyone thinks there's an obvious bet. I think the obvious bet is the under of 62.5. I don't think Arkansas is going to give up, 28, 30 points. I also don't think Arkansas is going to score 50 or anything like that. Like, I think Memphis is going to offer more resistance than any of Arkansas's first three opponents have offered, and they're not going to shut Arkansas down. But I could see this being a little bit 31-13-esque.
So let me ask you, is it more likely Arkansas scores 50 points or they score less than 20?
Oh, it's more likely they score 50 still, just because, we've seen if Bobby and Taylen get the matchup they want, they can do unlimited damage. I don't know if this is the matchup they want, but we've seen their ceiling game to game is very high. I don't, if they scored less than 20 against Memphis, John, burn it down, man. Like, that would end it all. That would be it.
I would think, and I'd hate to be morbid about it, but it's like, if you told me Arkansas was just going to score less than 20 points on Saturday, I'm going to immediately say, oh, Taylen Green got hurt. Like, that's how it would feel, is like, if you told me that they were going to score less than 20, it means something happened to Taylen Green. Because as long as Taylen Green's the guy, I feel good about it. Which, speaking of Taylen Green, I don't think people realize this. I did the SEC roundtable on my Locked On last night, and I made the claim, and I like to have some fun, maybe exaggerate a little bit on there. But I made the claim, I was like, Taylen Green's the best quarterback in the SEC right now. And of course, I got ripped. And I'm not saying for sure 100% he is, but I gotta talk a little trash. But then I started seeing it. It's kind of crazy. People don't realize, okay, Taylen Green is 4th in the SEC in passing yards right now. Ellis, do you realize he's 3rd in the SEC in rushing? Of anybody. Of running back, everybody.
He's 1st with quarterbacks by a fat margin, too. Yeah, no, that's I think, did I read that he's number 1 in the nation in total yards?
Yep.
Yeah. No, he's been balling, man.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, some people have faced great defenses and all that, but yeah, like through 3 weeks, Taylen's been as good as any quarterback in the conference, and it's not even really debatable.
Yeah, and that's why when they all started kind of giving me a hard time, I'm like, you do realize he's 4th in the SEC in passing and 3rd in rushing among all players. No other quarterback is even top 5 in both categories. So I feel like I have a decent argument. Not to mention the fact that he's also thrown more touchdown passes than anybody still in the SEC, Ellis. He has 11 touchdown passes. That's still more than anyone in the SEC. So got to throw that into the mix as well. And we'll keep up. We'll see. But right now, he's definitely doing a great job with that. Finch said, just now able to catch a show for the weekend, an unexpected passing of my aunt. Thankful to be able to get back in here. Well, sorry to hear that, Finch, man. We're glad to have you back, but sorry to hear about your passing of your aunt, man. That sucks. But glad you're in here, man. Glad you're being active. What better way to get away from the horrible tragedies of life than to listen to me and Ellis talk about Razorback football, and get into the real nitty gritty of everything. What could be better than that? Also, too, Heartbroken Hog just says, this team is like the 2022 team. Great offense with a defense that's going to give you a hard 6-6 ceiling. That may be actually a better question, Ellis. Do you think this team's better in 2022? For sure.
So I think, weirdly enough, the offense was so good in 2022, but they had a little bit of a red zone issue. I feel like, just in a nutshell, I would still probably take this offense. Although their run game was very dependent in 2022, I think the defenses are a wash. I don't know if this team's going to finish with the worst pass defense in the country. I think it's a wash, though. That 2022 defense had some random good games, though. They almost fell a shoe by themselves. Like, that was kind of crazy. Even the Liberty game wasn't because of the defense. I think this offense is going to end up being better overall than the 2022 offense, but the defenses are every bit as bad.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And Man, that's a tough one because what's also funny too is that team led the SEC in sacks because of Drew Sanders. You don't have anyone even close to a Drew Sanders on this team. But I'll say this, I hate to be that guy, but if you had Drew Sanders on this team this year, because their pass rush is kind of what's the tough thing, and Drew Sanders was as good as anybody. If you had just him on this team and on this defense, I think you win on Saturday going away against Ole Miss. I know it's always woulda, coulda, shoulda, but just saying, player like that makes a difference. I also forgot that Jaden Hazelwood had 700 receiving yards. I thought he had less than that year. He was really
Landers
good.
Had more than that, I believe.
Yeah, Landers did. I was just saying I didn't realize how closer they were. Landers had 900. But also, too, that's what I felt like that team was just about. It was just three players, KJ, Rocket, and Landers, which is fine. I mean, hey, it's
Rocket stats that year. They were crazy.
Rocket had 222 carries for 1,443 yards. That was averaging of 6.5 yards a carry. And he also had 10 touchdowns on the ground.
And he also didn't really play the bowl game. He got hurt like in the first drive of the bowl game. So it's like he really could have rattled off. And Arkansas ran for like 300 yards in that game. Yeah. He had one of the best running back seasons we've seen. And it all kind of lined up perfectly. But I don't think Arkansas is going to have a run game as consistent as that run game.
No, I don't think
Taylen's
so.
better than KJ. Kalen.
Taylen.
Taylen's better than Kalen.
Taylen Grefferson. Just I got to put them all together and just make it work. Yeah. Imagine if both of those guys combined their skill sets. Imagine if Taylen's throwing ability and running ability, but mixed with the size and athleticism of KJ. I'm sure somebody's going to do that.
If Taylen Green were 252 pounds, I don't know. Maybe Arkansas would be unstoppable. Honestly.
I wonder if Bobby would run the tush push with him. I wonder if they want to do something like that. All right. So Ryan says, I hope the defensive issues are as simple as they made comment. Keep things simple and let athletes be athletes. Bend and no break defense, and offense can do the rest. Well, I can promise you, based on Pittman's comments, that's going to be the case defensively against Memphis this week. I don't think you're going to worry about. I think it's probably an emphasis been put on, hey, just let's not dumb it down, but let's keep it basic. Let's keep it to like, hey, this is your guy. Stay on that guy. Don't worry about what the offense is doing. But I also feel, I could be speaking out of turn here, Ellis, but I felt like there was a lot of that element, maybe in the head of Travis Williams, or maybe even in the head of the players of like, dude, Lane Kiffin, crazy dude, crazy offense. Oh man, so many things that maybe in their own mind, they overcomplicated it just because of the Lane Kiffin factor. And, oh, this guy can throw plays. He goes for it on fourth down like crazy. I hate to give Lane Kiffin that much credit, but maybe it was a Lane Kiffin factor that got in their heads a little.
Perhaps. And I definitely think there's something to be said about the dumbing things down and just keeping everything in front of you, letting the guys play. The problem is when and I think against Memphis, that's probably going to work. I just think that the problem is you're still going to have a below average defensive line in the SEC. You're still going to have a below average secondary in the SEC. And so even if you are just kind of simplifying things, teams are still going to have advantages over you. And I don't think that's going away. So while I do think there's things they can do to help, I don't think the issues are as simple as, yeah, we're just going to make it simple for them, and then we're going to be good now. I think there's still going to be a bottom-tier SEC defense.
Yeah. Again, it's just a matter of can you just make enough stops? And Arkansas, I know in that Ole Miss game, they were so bad, in that second quarter especially. But it's like, I'm not expecting Arkansas to shut out any opponents this year. I'm not expecting Arkansas to keep any opponents, future opponents, from less than 10 points a game. I know they did against Alabama A&M or whatever. It's like what I expect and hope is that your offense is just your offense every game, consistent, good, solid, great, all of that, and that the defense can just come up with just a few stops. Get a turnover because it doesn't feel. I know that what was it? Arkansas State, did they throw 2 picks in that game? Arkansas State did, or it was just the one?
No, they threw 2. Xavier Story and Julian Neal had one.
Yeah, and that was the crazy thing, which it's an obvious statement, but like Ole Miss. No one turned the ball over except for that one. And that one ended up being a huge difference. So we can get some turnovers, man. That would also be very, very helpful if you could do that for sure. And also to Hog Fan 40 ounces. Happy birthday, Dave Van Horn. Is his birthday today?
It is his birthday today. Shout out to the king, the king of the North.
How old is Dave now?
64, 63.
See that old?
I feel like he's around there. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
He is 65.
Okay.
Oh,
65.
Sorry, Dave. I thought I was giving you some credit. I thought you were still in your late 50s, to be honest. You're welcome for the compliment, Dave. So, yes. Happy birthday to DVH. Appreciate you. get our heavy hitters a little bit here in a second too. But Chris also says, I just hate to hear that in week 4 we were having to simplify and dumb things down. I'm not sure that's ever worked out well.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I don't think it's a completely lost thing. Like I like the concept of simplifying things on defense is a thing that a lot of people do, but the fact that they are so quickly getting there, and that also, how did you not realize you were going to be there before? That's kind of what I can't get to. And Sam Pittman has said a lot of things that make you think he had no idea they had a bad defense. Like he literally was like, who knew the Ole Miss game was going to be high scoring? It's like, yeah, everyone knew. Like, we all knew all season. All off season. We've been talking about corner and D line. And so it seems like that's the concerning part to me, is that there's a disconnect between the players, the coaches, and the head coach. It's like, I just don't think they're all on the same page there, which you don't really hear this right before a team becomes the best defense in the country.
Right. No, I get that. What my hope is from Pittman's comments and everything. And again, we don't know what happened in the locker room. We have no clue. But it could have very well just been a case at halftime, or even before, some defensive players, maybe some captains, maybe some people went to Sam Pittman and like, Coach, man, like we don't know what we're doing out there. Like, hey, we'll just let us play, Coach, let us play. Or maybe they told Travis Williams, man, just let us play. And then they're like, okay, yeah, let's. I mean, it could have been something simple as the players going to him, be like, we know we can do this, but we got to do it our way, type of deal. And again, it doesn't mean it's going to equate to the best defense, but I'm agreeing with you. I think Sam Pittman, and I don't fault him for it, because I think there may have been an element to it, but he was very confident about his defense going into that Ole Miss game. And he felt that for sure should not have been as bad as what it was. I think everybody can agree with that. It should not have been as bad as what it was. I'm also curious too, Ellis, before we get to our heavy hitters and everything, like just given the circumstances of what some of the rest of the teams that Arkansas is going to be facing, do you think anyone gets close to having the performance that Chambliss did that Arkansas faces the rest of the year? Any quarterback?
So I don't think so, but only because, one, I mean, the numbers he put up, the efficiency. I mean, what he throw, like 5 incomplete passes? Like it wasn't, there really wasn't much. I think there's better quarterbacks, but like Garrett Nussmeier, LSU, you look at their offense, it's not really firing on all cylinders. They're not that great up front. Not saying that he can't put those numbers up against Arkansas. I don't necessarily think
the final play of the game.
They broke off that one. They broke off that one big run. And then, I mean, you just look at some of these quarterbacks who you might say are better than Chambliss, which there are a few, but like I don't think Arch is going to have this like great performance against them. The Missouri quarterback is dangerous, but who knows? That's late in the year. By that point, Arkansas will have a ton of film to go off of. They didn't really have anything with this Chambliss situation. I don't think there's going to be a performance that well-rounded against Arkansas, but who knows? There's plenty of candidates. I mean, Joey Aguilar. Let me take that back. Joey Aguilar is going to have that good of a game against Arkansas. They're going to score at will.
But what about last year though, Ellis? They didn't score at will. You can do the same performance twice, right? Maybe. I don't know.
It is kind of funny though, because you remember preseason, John, how many Hog fans thought we were stupid for even considering that game would be a close one. There was a lot of people that thought the Tennessee game was like a guaranteed win.
I'll admit, I never thought it was a guaranteed win, but I thought of all the SEC road games, it was your easiest one. Like, I mean, all of them are tough, but I felt that way. Now I'm like, man, that might be your most difficult one. Because Texas looks like trash. Again, right now, it could change. And LSU is good. Like, don't get me wrong, their defense is incredible. But let's be honest, Ellis, this is what's crazy about that. And, I didn't get a chance to watch the full Florida LSU game. But the fact that Florida threw 5 interceptions and LSU still only won by 10 is kind of weird, if you ask me.
No, it is. And one of those interceptions was taken back for a touchdown. So you can even call that a wash. They scored 13 points with 4 turnovers. I think that's a red flag right there.
Yeah. So imagine Arkansas on Saturday against Memphis getting 5 interceptions and only winning by 10. Like, I'd be like, what happened? What are we doing here?
Also, David, this is an incorrect recollection of how this went down. And I don't know, not everybody. There were a lot of people who had him being bad. Everybody with a brain, and us on this show, were like, Josh Heupel at quarterback, you're never going to have a quarterback there that just sucks. We said the same thing for Lane Kiffin, by the way, and people push back against that. Lane Kiffin offense is always going to have a guy that puts up big numbers. Josh Heupel, always going to have a guy that puts up big numbers. Obviously, losing Nico is notable, but so many people wrote Tennessee off because of that, and we never did that here at Inside Arkansas. We were just like, I don't know why people think this is like such a big deal. It's not like Nico was, the straw that stirred the drink last year. Like, he was kind of a game manager for him.
Yeah, like it's the thing we got to start understanding about certain things. And I know we'll get to our heavy hitters, but there are coaches out there that you just know, yeah, are they going to have the best quarterback ever? No. Are there going to be other quarterbacks that are better? Yes. But it's like, Bobby Petrino's always going to have good quarterback play. Same thing with Lane Kiffin. Same thing with Josh Heupel. Mike Leach, rest in peace. You just knew that if anything, they're going to have that. So, yeah, to say like, oh, this guy's going to be bad because he's not this or because, oh, well, Josh Heupel is not going to ever, even a backup, even a third stringer, he's never going to have a quarterback on his roster that's garbage. He's just not going to. So it's the same thing. So is he as good as what another quarterback may be? I forgot what was the kid's name a couple of years ago at Tennessee that got hurt at the end of the year, but was awesome and was almost like a Heisman winner. You remember his name?
At where?
At Tennessee for Josh Heupel.
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker. It's like, I mean, if that guy didn't get hurt, who knows what happens? But still, nobody probably heard of Hendon Hooker the way that people start hearing about when he performed well, and Aguilar's looking really good. So we'll see.
Also, I love this from SET, who says, so Lane Kiffin is always going to put up big numbers, or Arkansas got embarrassed by a D2 quarterback. Which is it? Both. Like literally both of those things happen. Preseason, we were talking about Ole Miss, and we were like, honestly, like, do I think the Austin Simmons kid is great? No, but like a Lane Kiffin offense is always going to be a threat, which is why we thought this matchup was going to be a little bit harder than everybody thought. And you guys acted like that was stupid. And it turned out, yeah, it was a little bit of an issue. And they had a guy that had only been on campus for a month, and he came in against Arkansas and bought out because it's a Lane Kiffin offense. They always have those answers, which is our argument why Arkansas is not in the same position as some of these other teams. Like I don't understand why like this is like such a hard concept to understand.
By the way, this is random, but Steve Sarkisian, well, who's the best quarterback he's ever coached? Like overall?
I mean, you'd have to go back to like when he was back in his day at USC. I guess was he there during the Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart issue?
I don't think he goes back that far.
No,
that was Lane Kiffin, wasn't it? During that stretch?
Yeah, Lane Kiffin was around there. I didn't know where was Sark OC at before.
Yeah, I got it pulled up here. He was at USC.
Yeah, Jake Locker at Washington.
Okay, you're right. He was there from 05 to 08 as the USC quarterback coach.
So he had like 1 year of Leinart or whoever.
Yeah. Then he had John David Booty there. But yeah, Washington, Jake Locker. At 2014 and 15 at USC, he was the head coach there, but I don't remember if he had
anybody cold like that.
Yeah. So anyways, point is
he coached Mac Jones at Bama.
Oh, well, in that case, point is like, it's just, people talk about coaches. Oh, he's going to always have an offense. I don't know if he's always going to have a great quarterback because there's been times he hasn't. Great quarterback play. Still good coach though. Still good coach.
Yeah, Sark low key might not be the QB whisperer.
Kind of like the same thing that people would tell me about Hugh Freeze. I'm like, based on what? Like, what quarterback is Hugh Freeze? But yeah, Bo Wallace. Like, his best one he ever had, honestly, was Chad Kelly. That was the best quarterback he ever coached. And that's about it. Like, he had no other, the quarterback whisper. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, the reason those teams were so good is because of offensive line play, because of it, like you had Laquan Treadwell. Or was it Treadwell that was on?
Yeah, Laquan Treadwell was there.
Yeah. So that was the main reason why. But either way, let's go ahead and get into our heavy hitters here on the show, presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction. We know storms can hit very unexpectedly. You never know when it's going to be. You never know when it's going to hit. Well, make sure you're ready. Make sure you are good to go when it comes to your roof, because there's nothing worse than having to deal with a storm, whether it's a snowstorm, ice storm, rainstorm, windstorm, any of the storms, if your roof's not in check. But HD Roofing offers you a great deal where they will come out and inspect your roof for free and just give you that peace of mind. If you're not sure, that's okay. You can give them a call. They'll come to you, check it for free, and let you know, hey, you're good. Hey, you need some work. Hey, you need to replace this thing right now. They will let you know. So give them a call today at 501-428-0429. That's 501-428-0429. Or you can check them out at hdarkansas.com. It's HD Roofing Construction, professionalism, integrity, teamwork, hardworking for our heavy hitter segment here on Inside Arkansas Live. Okay, so getting into our heavy hitters. This happened yesterday, and I'm doing this as a heavy hitter just mainly because I got two, but we'll start with a more sports-driven one. Dabo Swinney. Man, this comment, man. Like, I just want to play this video from him yesterday. Things are interesting over there in Clemson.
If they want me gone, if they tired of winning, they can send me on their way, because that's all we've done is win. So if they tired of winning, we've won this league 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that not good? I'm just asking, is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. To win your league 8 out of 10 years, to go to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, to be in 4 national championships, win it twice. Yeah, we're a little down right now. Take your shots, but I got a long memory, in case y'all don't know. We'll be all right. We'll bounce back. This is a program built to last. Always has been. Always will be. And I would just say, if you give up on us if you don't believe in us because we've lost 2 games down to the last straight and you didn't believe in us anyway, so it don't matter. You wasn't all in anyway. If you're all in, you burn the ships, man. There ain't no exit strategy. Like, you're freaking all in. And hey, listen, I mean, if Clemson's tired of winning, they send me on my way, but I'm gonna go somewhere else and coach. I ain't going to the beach. Hell, I'm 55. I got a long way to go. Y'all gonna have to deal with me for a while. I got a long way to go. I'm just getting going. I'm just now good enough to be a head coach.
Okay. So here's the deal. It's like some people are like, oh, well, Dabo, he's cooked. He's terrible. He's losing and all that. Here's the thing. I'm not saying I like Dabo one way or the other, but I at least appreciate him coming out and be like, hey, like I'm going to defend myself and defend what I've done, and kind of just has that confidence in it. And I think there is some truth to what he said, because, I mean, Clemson's been, I know they haven't been as great as what they once were, but they I think they're the only team. It's like Alabama. I'm trying to think of how it was put. It was like Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State are the only teams to win multiple national championships over the past 15 years. It's like, it's not a rare thing, but I don't know. I think it's funny how he just comes out. He's like, all right, yeah, do something about it. And then I'll still coach. I'll go somewhere else. I'm not going to the beach. I still got greatness in me. I'll go coach somewhere else. I just appreciate the brutal honesty and also the confidence in himself of being like, yeah, do whatever you want. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I have zero issue with Dabo defending himself. Like he's well within his rights to feel that way. Like, hey, I've accomplished so much here with what our program has done and like kind of the level we brought it to. Not saying they should never be able to ever criticize him, but yeah, I think you should give him a little more benefit of the doubt. There should be a little bit longer leash before you start going crazy. And so, yeah, if I were Dabo, I would 1000% feel that way. Now, here's the problem, John. Everything he said is accurate, but like if Clemson loses out, everything he would have said would still be accurate. And so basically, at what point does that stop being a thing of like, oh, well, we've, 7 out of the last whatever, because you could keep doing that. 7 of the last 14 years, 7 out of the last 17 years. You could keep doing that game. And I do think there's something to the idea that Clemson is not the same power they were 3-4 years ago, as this college football landscape has changed and things have kind of, to Sam Pittman's point, evened out a little bit and other teams have a chance. I don't think it's a coincidence that Clemson is no longer as dominant as they were, because now they have to compete with some of these teams and he doesn't play the NIL game as much. So I actually do think there's something to like Dabo's time at Clemson is going downhill a little bit. And by the way, I see a bunch of people being like, hire Dabo. Dabo would go 4-8 at Arkansas like 3 straight years, and it would be an absolute disaster. It would be a complete dump. Because I mean, think about it. They're losing to Georgia Tech and LSU right now at Clemson with one of the best rosters in the country. If he came to Arkansas, he would have a substantially worse roster. It would not go well. Like, let's just be honest there. But I also, in this clip, Dabo should absolutely let his nuts hang and feel the way he feels of like, dude, don't talk to me. Don't try to criticize me. If I never win a game, y'all still can't say anything about me because I've given you 2 natties. Shut up.
Well, I also love, it just reminded me, of course, I think of Houston Nutt, but remember when he was getting criticized, I don't know if you remember, Ellis, but the planes with the banners flying around the stadium that said fire Nutt. He got asked about in the press conference. He's like, where are those banners when we were winning SEC Western Division titles? It's just like, that's what coaches do. They're like, hey, things are bad, but where were you when things were good? He's like, what do you think about things are good? It's like, hey, these are fans. And I wanted to use this real quick before I get to yours. I had some people tweet at me about, the things yesterday that I said on Feinbaum show and everything, but people are just be like, if Arkansas had some fans that weren't complaining all the time, just complaining all the time about the players and about the coaches, maybe they'd be successful. And I'm like, you do realize that like Arkansas is not unique when it has a fan base that is upset about things, right? Do you think that other schools are just, the fans are like, well, man, yeah, as long as they played their hardest, stop. Like, stop thinking that Arkansas fans are the worst because they complain and they're mad and all. I mean, literally go to any other SEC school, especially, and you'll see the exact same thing, maybe even magnified and maybe even exponentially worse. So don't spare me that. But the point is, every fan base has people who are upset. People are going to complain. People are going to get mad. People can do all these things. It's not just at Arkansas. It's also at places like Clemson where people are upset. That's my whole point.
100%, John. It drives me nuts when I see fan bases that are not that tortured, that like to pretend like they're tortured fan bases. So Josh Pate, our guy, he's an Atlanta Braves fan. He tweets about the Braves like they're like the Cleveland Browns, like they've had 30 years of this crazy cursed ineptitude. I'm like, dude, the Braves are like the 7th best franchise in the league. They've had a ton of success. They're one of the most well-run organizations in the world. Like, they won a championship this decade, this half decade even. It was 2021, I believe. They won the titles. It's like, but Braves fans are always like, oh, it's such a pain watching the Braves. Oh, it's torture watching the Braves. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, you do not know torture as a sports fan. I see Chiefs fans complain all the time. No sports fan is ever going to reach a point where they're like, I've seen enough wins. I am at peace now. I never want to see I am no longer going to be upset by my team losing. You can win 7 Super Bowls and they are still going to be at your door the minute you go 0-3.
Yeah. You're not, anybody that complains about that, try being a Jets fan. That is miserable. That is awful. So yeah, all this, don't spare me with all that crap. But either way, Dabo's my heavy hitter for the day.
My heavy hitter for the day is not a sports related one. Honestly, there was a lot that happened this weekend, so I've kept some of these on the back burner, knowing that I could use them for the rest of the week. One, I don't think we gave Terrence Crawford a shout out yesterday or Monday, but I wanted to give Terrence Crawford a shout out. Won the big boxing match on Netflix against Canelo. I love this. The sport of boxing sucks because people don't the best boxers never fight each other. You have all these matchups. And back in the day when boxing was cool, all the coolest boxers in history, the Alis, the Fraziers, Mike Tyson, whoever, they fought each other. So that's how we got to remember that era. And everyone has those moments. Your granddad can tell you all the moments. Oh, I remember when so-and-so knocked out this guy. These days, the top boxers usually avoid each other. I love Canelo and Crawford coming together on Netflix. Ton of people watched it. Less people, by the way. It was like a quarter of the people that watched Paul Tyson, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. It was like way smaller audience for Canelo versus Crawford, the two best of the sport, basically, which I think is just very telling of the world we live in, that you can get the two best athletes in the world at this sport and you can get them together for this historic matchup, and people will watch more for the YouTuber versus a 60-year-old former boxer, because that's just how the world works. And so as much as we complain about it and we're like, how could this happen? How could Jake Paul do this? You want to see it. You want to see it, guys. And so it's just the way it works. And I also wanted to give a shout out to, I got anybody in the chat that watches The Penguin or watched the one season of The Penguin. It was kind of a spin-off sequel series of the Batman. Kristen Milioti, who is also the mother from How I Met Your Mother. She won Best Lead Actress at the Emmys. Well deserved. You never see, us nerds never get this stuff. Back in the day, Star Wars won Oscars, but nerd stuff doesn't win awards. So it's always cool when they do. Shout out to Kristen Milioti. She deserved it.
I feel like the Lord of the Rings was the first major nerdy, because that won Best Picture, didn't it, or Best Director?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely cleaned up.
That was a time for the nerds to finally get their due for all of that. So, but last heavy hitter I want to throw in real quick is there was it's kind of a serious story, but just anyway, there was a story about this guy that was in this neighborhood who was a peeping Tom, and it had been a problem. And this mom, it was her teenage daughter that was being peeped on, and she was obviously called the cops and everything. Well, the guy tried to run. Give this mom a scholarship right now, Sam Pittman. Boom. Just a great form tackle. Great form tackle. The guy was trying to run, and I mean, just look at this stance. She's ready. She gets in position. Boom. Great form. I mean, it's like a tackling dummy. And they get him down there. The police show up. But I mean, the guy was running from police. She's got a phone in her pocket, got the jean shorts on, just ready. Boom. So
that's how you tackle in space right there, man.
I'm telling you. Imagine if Arkansas had her against Ole Miss, man. They would have won the game. So anyways, that was the guy. But still, she also deserving of my heavy hitter, because that's good stuff. That is good stuff.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So anyways, want to give a shout out to her as well. We'll get to your chats as well as some final storylines here on the show, but want to remind everybody here on Inside Arkansas Live, we are presented by our friends at Hickey and Hole law firm of Inside Arkansas, the official one, because they're the best. They're the best in the business. It does not matter if it's divorce. It doesn't matter if it's custody cases. It doesn't matter if it's criminal, civil litigation. No matter what it is when it comes to your legal needs, Hickey and Hole Law Partners are the ones that are going to have you covered. And they have offices across the entire state of Arkansas, whether it's Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, or Mena. They can take care of you, and they're going to be here for you because they understand that the relationship that they have with their clients is extremely important, and they're going to help you every step of the way. Don't do it on your own. Don't do it by yourself. Have the professionals, the best in the business, help you out with it with Hickey and Hole Law, where they have offices again across the state of Arkansas. You can call them today at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. You can also check out their website at hickeyandhole.com. Also, if you follow our guy Kevin Hickey on TikTok, he does some live streams. We can give you some legal advice that way too. But no matter what it is, do it with Hickey and Hole Law, the official law partners of Inside Arkansas. It's Hickey and Hole Law. Things are about to get better. All right, so a few of your chats and some few final stories that we're going to dive into as well. Let's see. Also, Woo Damn Pig Smitty says, starting linebacker from Memphis is a recruit. Arkansas lost to Memphis. Think about that. Is that true? I mean, I assume it is, but
I'll take his word for it. I don't know. I don't know who he's referring to here, but I believe it. I mean,
yeah. Also, I'm not saying this is this exact example, but sometimes I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous to say like, oh, if this player had an offer from Arkansas and then they went elsewhere, it's like they lost out on him. It's like, I don't think that's always the case.
Yeah, that's why I never really like take this stuff. Obviously, there's sometimes where it's like, you talk to people and it's like, hey, it's between these two teams. He chose this team. These things happen. But for the recruiting world, there are literally so many variables. I never really try and overreact to it of like, oh, they didn't get this guy, so that must mean X, Y, and Z. Recruiting is a very weird world. There are no shortage of reasons why someone would attend a school. You'd never know. So I'm okay with Arkansas not taking the linebacker that Memphis took.
Well, and also I'll put it this way, Alex, because this is my favorite thing. It's about perception. If your perception is of your football program was like with Bobby Petrino when he was here and you were cooking and you were awesome and you were great and you lost out on a recruit, you know what it was? You didn't need him anyways. You had great problems, all of those things. But if you don't view your program that you love highly, and you're like, oh, you want the coach gone or you think you stink or whatever, and you lose out to recruit, it's going to be like, we lost out. They just can't do it. Pittman sucks. Like, it's all about the perception of your own program of how you're going to justify it.
100%. And again, you're well within your rights to feel however you feel because it's all fake. It's like nobody really, unless you just know the kid and the family or whatever. I'll tell you what I don't like, John. Whenever your quarterback commit for the upcoming class is no longer enrolled in high school. I don't love that.
I meant to bring that up too today. What's going on with that?
Not great.
What's going on with that, man? Like,
so I'm not a recruiting guy. I don't know if that's obvious. Of course, Dudley and Curtis, that's their world. So maybe they could speak more to this. It seems like this 2026 class is shaping up to be one of the worst in school history, at least since they've started doing the stuff. I remember Chad Morris's first year. I think they were ranked like 43rd and on 24/7, and that was obviously because he took over midway through. This is the worst class since that, and if they lose the linebacker that's visiting LSU, it'll be ranked pretty similarly to that. And that was, again, when you had a coaching change coming off of a 4-8 year.
Yeah, and again, I know recruiting's changed so much with the transfer portal and everything, but at the same time, you don't want to be last. You don't want to be terrible. Like, you just can't have that. Can't have that. I want to respond to these. A couple of David said, Jets, Arkansas. Who's your NBA team, John? The Knicks? No, I don't really claim as much as I used to with the NBA team, but the Celtics always rooted for because they drafted Joe Johnson. And because Hudson said being a Jets fan and a Hawks fan is hard life. Yeah, it is. But when it wasn't? 2010. 2010 was awesome for me as a Razorback and a Jets fan in football because the Razorbacks went to the Sugar Bowl and the Jets went to the AFC title game. So it's all about, historically speaking, but the past 15 years have sucked. I will say that. It's not been fun. But you know what? When they finally become good, it's going to be worth all the pain and suffering that had to happen. Heartbroken Hawk says, there's no such thing as satisfied in sports. If you allow yourself to be even for a minute, you are immediately falling behind everyone else. I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah, which is why I think there should be an emphasis on understanding the world we live in, understanding the direction things are heading, and embracing it instead of fighting against it. It's like it's a really hard to fight against of like, like imagine if you were like really adamant of like, hey, y'all are really gonna like keep expanding this playoff. Well, I'm adamantly against it, and I won't be a part of any playoff. It's like, okay, you can be mad if you want, but it's like we're gonna keep doing this. And it's like it's not like other teams are just gonna be like, you know what, you're right. I've had a change of heart. I'm no longer going to do scumbag activities to get players to my team.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because I agree with you wholeheartedly. Well, also this from Evan says Josh Pate picked Memphis to cover, possibly upset, but in the same breath said Taylen is the second best quarterback in the SEC.
I think we all kind of. I mean, I'm picking Arkansas to win and cover. I don't think those are like oxymoronic statements. You know what I mean? Like I think Taylen can be the literal best quarterback in the SEC and still be let down by his teammates.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I still, to this point at least, I don't think anybody put Chambliss up as a top 3 quarterback in the SEC right now, but he looked like it on Saturday, and Arkansas still lost, even though Taylen Green looked better. It's just sometimes you just depends on the matchup you face. In Arkansas, yeah, they covered the spread, but it could be the same on the other side where Taylen Green can still play great, but if you make the other quarterback look really good, then it won't really matter in the end. Our Broken Hawk says, I'm shocked about how many people I see picking Memphis to cover or outright win. Again, I don't know who is saying that right now. I know that Josh Pate just said he's covering it, but I mean, I don't blame them necessarily at this point.
Yeah, I think again, it goes back to two things are true. Like Memphis is definitely capable of beating Arkansas if Arkansas doesn't play well. But I still think if Arkansas plays even their B minus game, I think Arkansas wins this game by 2 scores most likely. But I mean, I don't blame people for kind of thinking the writing might be on the wall for some turmoil with Arkansas based on literally everything, whether that be the recruiting class, the things the AD are saying, the things the head coach are saying, the things, the stuff we talked about preseason of coaches not being on the same page. There's a lot. Like, I think that's probably the basis for why people are picking this. They think it's a trap game, and there's some red flags, big picture with Arkansas.
Yeah. Also, I like this. Omri says, referring to John in his show this morning, TG is 100% better than KJ, arguably the best quarterback to ever wear Arkansas on his chest. Now, let's not get crazy.
I don't know if I agree with that. Is he arguably the best?
I can't say that. Like, I believe right now where it stands, like if you said, hey, you get KJ Jefferson or Taylen Green, who you taking? I'm taking Taylen Green, but it's not this overwhelmingly decision. But I'm like, Ryan Mallett's still the greatest quarterback to ever play at Arkansas, and Taylen Green would have to do a whole lot this year to surpass that. Like, he would have to have not only a great year, but be like first team all SEC, have to do that type of level. And that's not a slight against him. It's just there's been some pretty good quarterbacks at Arkansas, and I don't think right now where it stands, I don't know anybody that can make an argument right now that Taylen Green is the best quarterback Arkansas has ever had.
Yeah, like if you want to make the argument and say Taylen could do something this year that would make us have that conversation, sure. I think that's in play, and we'll see how it plays out. I think it's okay to just let something happen, and then when it happens, we can feel how we feel about it. We do this thing where we're like, well, if Arkansas wins by X on Saturday, will this happen? It's like, I kind of need to see it, and then I'll see how I feel. I can't tell you how I'm going to feel before it happens. If KJ goes if Taylen goes 9-3 this year and then gets a 10th win in the bowl game or whatever, maybe I will feel that way. Maybe I'll say, you know what? He might be arguably the best we've ever seen. As of right now, there is no arguable case for Taylen Green being the best quarterback in Razorback history. There is no case other than what he might be able to accomplish, which, again, if he accomplishes it, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. And it's like the same thing. I look back where, say, I think most people would say that Bobby Petrino as a head coach was better than Houston. Now, maybe you wouldn't, but I would. But if you said that after Bobby's first year when he went 5-7, it's obviously like, well, we haven't seen it. How do we know? He went 5-7 this year. But then the next few years happened, and then you're like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of the same thing with Taylen Green. It's like if you say it right now, it's like, no. But if he goes on this season and averages 300 yards passing a game, over 100 yards rushing a game, is in the Heisman Trophy finalist list, and Arkansas wins like 8-9 games, then okay, we can at least have that conversation. And Ellis, I just know I'm going to go ahead and get mad. I just know that and I don't even know if you'd have a chance to talk to him or anybody, but if Bobby had a press conference and at the end of the year or something, someone's gonna be like, so where does Taylen Green rank? Was he better than Ryan Mallett? Was he better than Lamar Jackson? Like somebody's gonna ask like where he ranks, and then Bobby's not going to give an answer. Plain and simple.
Yeah, nor should he. I really don't think Bobby has any interest in this discussion. I also would throw in Brandon Allen of like going into his senior year, there was not a soul on the planet who was arguing that Brandon Allen was one of the best quarterbacks in school history or arguably up there with any of those guys. And then his senior year plays out and you're like, damn, he really is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen.
Yeah, because people forget. So I'm glad you brought up Brandon Allen because people forget, like, not only does that 2015 season awesome, but it was like a stretch. He didn't start great. Like, it clicked. And he went on a tear where his numbers were phenomenal. I mean, it helps against Mississippi State when you throw, 7 touchdowns and no picks to really add to it. But, sometimes it's just a matter of, you look back on his numbers, like, hey, this guy was great. It's like, no, people can sometimes forget that same season, Brandon Allen was playing Toledo in Little Rock, and on the final play of the game, he threw the ball and it hit the upright. Like, that happened on the play of the game. Like, when you're within striking distance, Brandon Allen hit the upright, and he wasn't always perfect. So, but that's the deal that I think a lot of people tend to forget. But either way, doesn't matter. We don't need to do comparisons right now. The season's not even over yet. Like, let it roll.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at. Where I'm like, this conversation will look really stupid if Arkansas goes 6-6. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to look stupid and be like, why did we have that conversation? By the way, I see that it's Everett Russo who they're referring to. Very much not a guy who Arkansas like lost out on. You know what I mean? And I'm sure he's having a great year. I'm sure he's a nice player. I remember that. I remember Everett Russo. This was not a case of Arkansas like struggling to land. Like, if Arkansas wanted Everett Russo, he would have been at Arkansas. Like, that's just a fact.
The only thing that you ever lose out on is if it's like that player was committed to you already at some point, or you were the favorite, or it was down to you and another team, and they chose. To me, that's losing out, and it also has to be like a 5-star, 4-star caliber player. But yeah, losing out to, because there's been, how many players have you seen else that gets offered from because they're in state and they're 3 stars that probably wouldn't even play, but then they go to like Louisiana Monroe or whatever because they can start and play and all that. Is that Arkansas losing out on a kid? No, not at all.
Did Arkansas lose out? Did they fumble the bag with Joseph Pinion or Darian Ford because they went to a lower level and had success? No, it's like, yeah, that's just sometimes things need to play out.
Yeah, just let them play out. I know it's a lot to ask for somebody, but just let them play out. All right, let's see if there's any chats that needed to bring up. I don't know why this got highlighted, but posted. Can someone tell me why John can't be in press conferences or the press box at the game? Well, none of us can be, and that's a story we've told a bunch. We're not allowed, so plain and simple. But Ellis, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day?
One, my final thoughts are John was in a press box just Saturday, an SEC press box. True. So, I mean, who's to say? But no, I don't have any final thoughts other than later today, Daniel Shee joining the Bombastic Podcast, and we'll have that episode out in just a little bit. So tune into that, and have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, be able to do that, and it should be a great one. Be sure to subscribe. With my final thoughts are to all of the great stuff that we have going on here at Inside Arkansas Live, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, the Bombastic Podcast, Inside Arkansas Recruiting, Inside Arkansas Football. We got all the content when it comes to all things Razorback sports all the time, 24/7, 365. So be sure to subscribe to all the stuff we have going on here on our YouTube page. You can also check us out wherever podcasts are found, but specifically Spotify, because our videos now are on Spotify. So be sure to check that out there as well. And we're going to keep it moving. And tomorrow, going to be back for Inside Arkansas Live. And don't forget, we're going to have our EA Sports College Football 26 simulation tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So it'll be a lot of fun to see. Arkansas is undefeated. They're undefeated in EA Sports College Football. And that's really the only thing that matters. So we'll see if Arkansas can keep their undefeated streak alive. And hopefully it's a better game than what we saw last week against Ole Miss. But that'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, as well as intern Cameron, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.